Good day. It's September the 3rd, 2024, and I'm Wayne Woods, ex letter carrier extraordinaire and MSC at times. One thing I've never been is a clerk, which I really enjoy working with the clerks when I was a union rep. Anyhow, I want to clarify something with people, new people who didn't understand where all this craziness came from. When I started in 1981, that wasn't that far away from a collective agreement, and it was also a deal where rope measurement was coming in. So instead of a boss walking around saying, "Oh, that looks like a walk," and they take a guy with really long legs out so that takes them quicker to finish it, they say that's your new walk. Well, time and motion stuff was developed, which was the rope measurement system. So I started in 81, but I wasn't a carrier. I was an MSC, but I'd also taken as an MSC, I took the full rope measurement course, which covered everything and covered MSC and letter carrier. So there was two groups there, well, groups, but they were MSC and inside and outside. We were out driving around picking up street letter boxes. So anyhow, I went into the carrying section. I bid in 1983, so that was like 2 years later. And trained by the amazing Lou Leachman from the depot in the north end of Winnipeg. And he was this guy would walk up to the boss and say, "Get everybody off the floor, or these people aren't coming back for lunch." And he'd lodge a complaint with the supervisor, and they would do something. So it was a very serious offense back then, skipping your lunch and everything, because what he taught me was the shortcuts you take, they're gonna fill it with work. And what he said was, and he was pretty dead on. He said, "They've slit your throat, but you're not going to bleed for a few years," and that's where we're at. We're bleeding. So what happened was, I being a carrier, and I went by the book. My whole career at the post office, we're going to call it a career. My whole time at the post office, I went by the book. Never stepped on a lawn. Customer wanted to talk to me, I stopped and I chatted with them, whatever questions they had, whatever. I never stopped from doing my job. And I never, this business of cutting across lawns, just a reminder if they want to go after you. The neighbor can tell you, "Oh, it's okay, you can cross my lawn," but they can't give you permission to cross the other person's lawn, which is attached to that lawn. So that's where you'll run into problems if you're damaging somebody's property and they say, "Oh, but the neighbor said I could." Well, the neighbor didn't say you could walk on the other neighbor's lawn. Anyhow, that's a whole thing in itself. So what happened was, gradually, by the time I got to, I think it was Transcona Station where I was trained by a guy. He took his car out. Driving around. We're in his car to the first call. We get out, and he's got the bags in his trunk, and who the hell knows what this guy was doing? Anyhow, so I went out for 5 days with him. It was 5-day training then, out on the street, how to deal with registers. Well, he was using me like a pack mule, see? He'd go on one side of the street, and I'd go on the other. I never saw him out the whole time. We were just looking, I'd see him running down the street. So it was terrible. So after I did my 5 days, I went into the supervisor in Transcona and said, "Can I have my training, please?" And he said, "You got your training." I said, "That wasn't training. I don't know what the hell it was. It wasn't training." And they refused. They filed a grievance, and they had to train me again to be a letter carrier. I was already trained as a postal worker, and I understood it. So it's not as if I needed to understand his job. I needed the hands-on of what to do when you're out there with the mail under your arm or wherever you got it. So that's when I realized, wow, what is going on? And the boss was okay with him taking his car, was okay with him loading bags into the trunk, was okay with him not bringing his keys back because he'd go home afterwards. I was an inconvenience to him. He'd go home afterwards. So he had his keys with him. You can get fired for taking your keys home, but these guys, most of them that I ran into, took their keys home. So when I got a station, I started in, I started in the north end, and then I went down to Corydon, Depot C, it was down in Corydon. And there was people in there, and they weren't always a militant or keeping an eye on station, but they said, if you cross the lawn, you can finish earlier. I said, "You're kidding me. I can?" It's like, doesn't everybody know that? And I said, you know what? I'm just being facetious. That's wrong. You're cutting your throat. This job is going to end a horrible death. The job itself will be left with mechanized garbage. So anyhow, they didn't believe it. And along comes the strike. And the strike was for the use of vehicles, because everybody went in begging to their boss, can I use my vehicle? Can I use my vehicle? Of course, then that was the beginning of the end with the vehicles. You might think it isn't, but it was. And you were only supposed to take it to your first call. It was the first stop that the cab would take you. So we put cabbies out of work. You're only supposed to use it to your first call. Outside of that, you're in trouble, and in trouble with your insurance company. So this is where it all started. You wonder where it started. Well, then before you know it, this guy says, well, if he's going straight through, I'm going straight through. And they're going home. The station I was in at the time, they're going home. And they're saying to the boss, what a piece of cake, 11 o'clock, I'm going home. We actually even had routes that had 2 deliveries a day, which were downtown Winnipeg, probably the same in downtown Toronto. 2 deliveries a day. And that was residential once, businesses twice. So what they'd do is they'd take the whole route out, put kills in their case, and then come back, check for registers, which you're supposed to, registers and priority posts. And at the time it was special deliveries. So you check for that, and then they'd write out a card carding it and take the card to the person tomorrow, which created a whole other problem in itself of where the parcel was and why, what's the date on, what's going on, you know? So this is what happens, right? So if you think the supervisor didn't know because he was a carrier, the supervisor would know that you put your kills in the case. So when you come back, you pulled them out, threw them in the turnaround or wherever the clerks do with them. You threw the kills, and then that was it. You were finished. It made it look like you had a PM delivery. So the problem came from when I started. Most of the supervisors were regular people off the street. A lot of them were hangovers from the Second World War that were militant, military-style supervisors checking your nails and the length of your hair and everything every day. We had those. But then all of a sudden, around 82, 83, we started getting these college degree business types that thought they could be the smartest supervisor in the crowd. They were carriers, and they went into supervising. Well, when in there, they knew all the tricks. They knew everything. From everybody listening to people. So these supervisors that used to be carriers now letting the cat out of the bag and what everybody was doing. And it was crazy. So as Canada Post realized, oh, let's get the guys from carrying inside and friends and family working as supervisors or as carriers or clerks first, and then move them into management, because we can do that as long as they want to leave their union. Then we can go and find out everything that's going on, where the shortcuts are, what these people want to do and what they don't want to do. And when you throw it back at them, they'll say, yeah, I didn't want to do that anyways. And convince them that, you know what, this job, when they say to you, oh, do you want to give up your WCB 100% coverage, or you want to give up your sick time? You go, yeah, I didn't have it at my other place anyways. And then the pension, yeah, I didn't have it at my other place. 7-day, whatever that crap is they have now. Oh, yeah, well, that's what I had at my other place. So guess what? The job you're in now is turning into your other place. So that's a bit of a problem. But this did not just start with the SSD or anything else. This started back in 82, 83, and it started with the mentality that, now this is the one that will kill you. I was at a party and the guy was a carrier, and I was a carrier at the time, and he's there bragging about how he can work 4 hours to do an 8-hour job and then get 2 hours of overtime at time and a half. And it's like people are laughing and going, what, is this guy for real? And he said, no, I'm for real. That's what I get paid. So people back then paid for the letter carrier through their taxes, paid for the post office. And here's where the problem come in. As we move along, because people are learning to hate you now. They're hating you because they're paying you to walk across their lawns, take all the shortcuts at their expense, and then they pay taxes to cover you. And little do they know, it wasn't that much in the way of taxes they paid out of their total percentage for the post office. It was nothing. The government pissed away all kinds of money. There was one hell of a lot more than that, but nobody complained. So here's where the thing comes in. So we're moving on. Let's fast forward to about, I think it was 89 or 90, somewhere around there, when they wanted a Crown Corporation, and they wanted to change they went from regular post office clothes, the police looking things with the badges and the real beaver hats and leather coats for driver. They changed to a fashion designer that had Canada Post written on the buttons, and everything had a purpose on your thing. And they called it a fashion statement. You couldn't call it a uniform. It's not a uniform. It's a wardrobe. And people were talked to for calling it a uniform. It's a wardrobe. It wasn't a wardrobe. It was a piece of crap. Women didn't like it. The shirts that came with them were so thin, when you're outside, they can see right through the female letter carriers' blouses, and if it was wet, it looked like they were standing there in their bra. So it was a real problem. But here's where the real problem came in. So we're moving along. All of a sudden, right about, it was around 91, that the Crown Corporation became self-sufficient. So they were taking zero money. The taxpayers paid zero around 89, somewhere around there. I don't know, maybe the union reps can get some documents on that, but it was around that time. And they were paying nothing. You were self-sufficient. So people today kind of take on they think that you are cutting corners. They think that your life is a piece of cake, that you're working 4 hours. That's what they think. I'm not kidding you. They think that this is the post office, the cushiest job you could ever get, with the best benefits that they get for free, and they're a burden on us, and to hell with them. And that's the way most people are. They can tell you they're your friend. They're not your friend. They used to be. I mean, I knew all my customers, and that was a relief. I knew them all. They take time with them if they had a question. But here's where we're at now. You can't, Canada Post gets something back, or we give it away. Your chances of getting it back are zero. They're going to take, and then they're going to take, and then they're going to take. So I don't know what you want to do about it, but the fact is you're not working with the public. I know with my carrier at my own personal home, I go to ask him a question. He's like 3 houses down across people's lawns, and I'm yelling at him, "Excuse me, I got a question for you." He wouldn't answer. Then I find out he's wearing headphones. That was a whole issue too, wearing headphones and getting bit by dogs. So anyhow, that's where you wonder why the public, why don't you get something out to the media? Let's get something out to the media. The media will put it in there, and everybody will go, "Oh my God, those poor postal workers." They don't think you're a poor. They think you are overpaid, working overtime on their dime. That's what they think, and you're not. So even if you put out a media, they're going, "Yeah, oh yeah, they're just trying to save themselves. This is their lifesaver." So there's other ways to fight it. I don't know how at this point, because I'm not working there. I'm gone now. But when I was there, I knew how to fight it, because the whole version of postal worker has gone upside down. So, but I know one thing you do not do is you try and fix it for them, because that's what they've been doing for years. "Oh, don't worry, boss. I know what you're wrong. If you put that over there, this would be quicker, because you could do this and you could do that and you could do this with the flyers." They would tell them how to make it quicker, and quicker means more jobs lost. So you never hear much. Now, this is another thing. I hate to ramble on. I think I do like to ramble on. But the clerks, you might wonder, well, what's the matter with the clerks? The clerks know their job. They're together, and they're stuck there for the day. They don't go home early. So they all know each other. They all read their bulletins. They all have a lunch together. They all do everything they're supposed to be doing together. Whereas the carriers, for years, thought they were entrepreneurs. I work for myself. Who the fuck are you talking to me like that? That's my route. Well, you know what? The boss says it's not your route. It's Canada Post. So this is the attitude that's been going on for a long time. Maybe not you, but it has been going on. And they don't give a damn about customers. They didn't give a damn about bragging about this. I mean, I was in a restaurant on my lunch break. The restaurant right beside, it was Tim Hortons, right beside the post office. And the guy says, "Oh, nice day. Hey, you finished already?" And it was like 11 o'clock. And I goes, "No, I'm having my lunch." It was 11:30 or something. And he says, "Oh, yeah, wink, wink." And I said, no, I'm having my lunch. So he says, yeah, sure you are. So why don't you go next door to the station and ask them? And it's better still, I said, why don't I give you my phone number and you give me your phone number so I can call you when I'm going for my break? How's that? Because it's none of your business. So this is the attitude people have. It's in their brain. They still think they pay for you just because you're somehow connected. No money goes that way. That's why we lost the mail subsidy on magazines, newspapers, bulk third class, all gone. Cassettes, there was records, communications, all gone. Bulk mailers. So anyhow, I hate to ramble on and on and on, but that's where we're at with this. In case you're wondering, it didn't just start with SSD. It started way back in around in 1982, with carriers saying, "Hey, if we just go straight through, we can go home early." And I tried to explain it to them, explain what's going to happen, what they're going to do to you, and they're going, "Yeah, sure. These people are crazy. These union people." And that was the thing. That was the selling feature of the job when people wanted to be at the post office, because they knew someone that worked at the post office and they work 4 hours and get paid for 8 and can still do overtime within the 8 hours. So that's where we're at. You want to know why there's no sympathy? That's it. It's been around for years. And you can ask people, they probably don't even know that you don't pay for them. But they don't care either, because now they got email, they got this, they got that, and you're just a mosquito at a picnic. So you got to get your strategy. And first of all, you got to be solid with each other. This business, the Canada Post likes to do things that drive a wedge between you, whether it's favoritism or any of that stuff. Anything to drive a wedge. But the most important of all in the end, do not give away any work. Don't give it away. If you're doing a volume count, I don't even know if they do volume counts anymore because they're so simple. If there's parcels, and they'll say, well, I don't want to do those parcels, so you don't have to count them. That went on for a whole station that I worked in. The union reps from the regional office arranged a deal where the private drivers were delivering the parcels carrier size to my door. And I confronted them, and I ran into that problem. They said, no, we have a deal. Well, that's not much of a deal if carriers lost like 12 routes. So anyhow, it's not a simple problem. It's not an instant fix problem. But you have to go piece by piece, playing chess with these guys. Stop playing checkers, man. You got to play chess with these guys. You got to know what is their goal for the next move. Because what they're doing now is clearing the way for what they want to do next. So once you figure that out, you'll get the prize. Anyhow, have a wonderful day and good luck as we go along. I mean, the worst has already happened. What they offered you is the worst. So you can only go from there. Anyhow, you have a good day and solidarity to all.